Okay, and before doing anything new, I'm going to recapitulate what we did in the last two lectures. I started with an outline of the course, and I said that I will develop it like a story, starting from the beginning and going to the end in a chronological order. So the initial state, the intermediate state, final state, and so on. That's the way I'm going to proceed. So I started with some basics. I talked about natural units and some useful numbers to remember, like relevant time scale, length scale, temperature scale, energy density scale. Then we talked about relativistic kinematics for Rick and LHC. I introduced the quantity called rapidity, mentioned what are the advantages, why introduce rapidity at all. Then I introduced pseudo-rapidity, which acts as a proxy, because it's easier to measure pseudo-rapidity compared with rapidity. So that was kinematics. Then we talked about transparency of collision. At lower energies, nuclei tend to stop each other, and at higher energies, they tend to pass through each other. So I presented experimental evidence for that, and then how does one understand this transparency, theoretical understanding. So to understand it theoretically, we have to first understand what is inside the proton. What are the proton distribution functions inside the proton? So I showed you a figure. It showed that there are a huge number of gluons if you go to sufficiently low values of your kinates. Gluons completely dominate all other protons. And that information comes from deep inelastic scattering experiments done over the last 40, 50 years. So once we know what is inside the proton, then we know roughly what is inside the nucleus. Nucleus is not exactly just the collection of nucleons. There are differences. Proton distribution functions in the nucleus are not exactly the same as those in a free proton, but they are similar. So all that information has to be used to build up the collision of two nuclei. Then we were talking about Gaussian picture. It's a space-time picture of the collision. And what happens exactly in the early stages is a very difficult question, and is actually a subject of current interest. So let me write a few things about it. So, initial stages, when the nuclei collide, a huge amount of entropy is created. The instance of collision. Now, what is the microscopic mechanism by which this happens, and how does equilibration or thermalization occur? It's one of the most difficult questions. And it's an area of active research today. Why is it so difficult? Because the system is in a highly non-equilibrium situation. And it's a non-abelian gauge theory. Which is operated here, and non-perturbative effects are important. Because of all this, it's a very difficult problem to handle from first principles. So there are people make models because of this difficulty. There are two classes of models. Some are based on perturbative QCD and others are based on non-perturbative QCD, or in other words, incoherent and coherent models. So here one looks at collision as a collision of two incoming photon clouds. And the collision is built up as a sum of individual collisions. A large number of photons coming this way, another large number of photons coming that way. When you look at them individually, how does one will interact with others? What happens after the collision? And so keep track of all those individual collisions. So one has to write a huge computer program based on Monte Carlo procedure. And so in a way, one is generating an event in the computer by looking at individual collisions of photons. So that is the kind of models these are. So the collision is an incoherent sum of individual collisions. So when photons collide, what are called, some interactions are hard, some are semi-hard. So jets and mini jets are produced. Mini jets are just the semi-hard. It's done using perturbative QCD. So once you have these photons produced, then the space-time evolution is governed by relativistic transport theory or relativistic Boltzmann equation. And tells you how the equilibration is reached. This leads to equilibration. If you let the system evolve as per Boltzmann equation, eventually if there are enough collisions, the system attains equilibrium. So these are sometimes called photon cascade models. Monte Carlo event generators. This is one class of models, which I am calling incoherent models. There are also another class which are coherent models. The idea is like this: when the two nuclei collide and pass through each other, they exchange colored gluons. As a result, you have a situation where the receding nuclei, each of these is color charged. They acquire charges, color charges. This is also both both are color charged, and as a result are strong electric fields. And these strong electric fields, color electric fields, decay producing quarks and antiquarks. That's how the particles are generated. The strong color fields and that happens by what is called Schwinger mechanism. Say a few words about Schwinger mechanism. Schwinger proposed this not in the context of QCD, but in the context of QED. He was talking about very strong color electric field, very strong ordinary electric field, not color fields, and they spontaneously, if the field is strong enough, field can spontaneously create E plus E minus pairs. Electron positron pairs can be created. So that picture can be adopted for our purpose. Strong color fields can give rise to QQ bar pairs. The Schwinger's, of course, is for QED. Strong electric fields. Spontaneous E plus E minus pair production. So the idea is not difficult to understand. We know that, look at the Dirac sea. This is 0, this is plus m, and minus m. The Dirac picture, and this is, all these are filled up. Now this is without any electric field. Now let's introduce, this is my Z axis, let's X axis. This is a situation without any electric field. Now let's introduce some very strong electric field. So this is the potential. Minus E times Z.
Sorry, what does the x-axis mean in this case?
No, it just, this is the energy axis, and this could be various locations. I'm going to plot the, if it is Z, I should write X here. Because I'm going to plot the potential, so I need some coordinate axis, which is that. I'm introducing electrostatic potential, which is minus modulus of E times X. So when X is negative, it is positive. Or maybe this should go through here. Okay. And for positive X, it is negative, and it is very strong field. So if the field is very strong, then electron sitting here in the Dirac sea can leak outside and become a free state, free electron. So this hole, that will create a hole here. Or in other words, you have positron here and an electron there. So this is essentially the idea behind Schwinger mechanism. Spontaneous production of electron-positron pairs. And now once you have these quark-antiquark product produced, then subsequent evolution is as per here, the relativistic Boltzmann equation, and that also leads to equilibration. So these are the two class of models of equilibrium stage and thermalization. And the model that I described last time is characteristic decoherence time in the rest frame of the parton. If the parton is moving, it's suitably dilated. So the partons which are moving fastest, they are dilated maximum, and so they emerge much later. Then I give this picture. Two nuclei are approaching, and then suppose there was no interaction, then what will happen? This nucleus will continue to move along this line, and this will continue to move along this line, if there were absolutely no interaction. But we know in reality there are interactions. But some of the partons, which are fastest moving partons, they suffer very little. So they tend to continue moving along these lines. But not all are so fortunate, and so some of them go this way. And as a result, this whole light cone is filled up. Why? In zeroth order approximation, they will all be moving in a straight line, approximately. But of course there are interactions, so they may not move. But this is a zeroth order approximation. They continue to moving this way. So these ones would go along this line. And then I do hyperbolas. Why did I draw hyperbolas? Because those are the hyperbolas of constant proper time. Tau was a constant on each hyperbola. And the proper time is what governs the evolution of the system. So partons here at z equal to 0, those which are here are very different values of time and z, but since they have the same tau, they are the same stage of evolution. So these are the various hyperbolas. Now look at this single line. This is the light cone. And look at one line here. I'm not saying this is the trajectory of any particle, but just I have drawn a single straight line. What is the equation of this line? What is the equation of this straight line? T equals some constant times z. In other words, z upon t is constant on this line, right? Now remember the definition of space-time rapidity. What was that? It was defined as an hyperbolic inverse z by t. So what can you say about pseudo rapidity? Space-time rapidity. On this line it is constant. So these are the lines of constant eta s. And these hyperbolas are of constant tau. So we had t and z as starting coordinates, obviously went to tau and eta s. Taus are these hyperbolas and eta s, and these are the lines of constant eta s. I said that Gaussian picture assumes the velocity of a particle at z at time t to be this, which is a Bush invariant description. Which means if this is correct, then Vz prime is also equal to z prime upon t prime. So the bottom line was, because of time dilation, the collisions are nearly transparent. Then we went from tau 1 to tau 2 to tau 3 and all the way up to tau 6. Do you have any questions about that picture? then I mentioned some results in thermodynamics, and I mentioned that there are differences between non-relativistic treatment and relativistic treatment. Then I listed various variables which we'll need later when we go to fluid dynamics. Then we started talking about thermodynamics of QGP and the equation of state of QGP. So I wrote down this. Epsilon G. This is per degree of freedom. Energy density of boson, massless, per degree of freedom. So this is one result. Then we wrote for fermions. This becomes the per degree of freedom. And with this one can write down expressions for epsilon QGP. Expressions for number density did I write? NF minus NF bar.
No.
That was the tutorial. Okay, so the next thing one would like to do is calculate pressure. Now that today there will be one tutorial problem, calculation of pressure explicitly for massless particles. Imagine some enclosure, put massless particles and calculate pressure explicitly. So there is a tutorial problem, and the result comes out to be exactly 1/3 of the energy density. So that is a sort of derivation of the equation of T. There is also an expression for NB. D cube square. This is number of bosons, again massless, T cube pi square upon the Riemann zeta function at 3. But the number of bosons is not conserved, or number of photons is applicable to photons also. Number of photons is also not conserved. And what is this number? what is this number of photons? Does it make sense?
Equilibrium.
Yeah. Even at equilibrium, the numbers are, Photon number is not conserved. I said right at the beginning, before we started doing that we are going to do grand canonical ensemble. We are assuming grand canonical ensemble, and these are the ensemble averages. Average over an ensemble. All these are ensemble averages. Now, suppose I ask you how many photons are there in a black body, inside the black body at zero temperature? Black body at T equal to 0. How many photons are there? From here you get 0. So I will now write expression for UGP for three colors and two flavors using all this. You get 37, 150. This is the energy density for fog-lawn plasma if you are assuming three colors and two flavors. If you have three flavors and three colors, then the expression would be 19. This is also treatment. Okay. Now this is all about quarks, antiquarks, gluons. Now let's talk about gas of pions. Gas of massless, let's massless pions for simplicity. What will be the energy density? You have all the expressions in front of you. Tell me what will be the energy density of pion gas. Pion is a boson or a fermion? It's a boson. Okay. So, which of these expressions will you use? The first one over there. But that is per degree of freedom. So, how many degrees of freedom will you consider for pions? Pions come in three colors, three charges, pi plus, pi minus, and neutral. So, degrees, the factor is 3. So, you will get pi square P4 upon 10. And this is 3 times the pressure for 5 minutes. Okay. Now, this surprise waiting for us. Compare those pressures. Let us take mu to be 0. So what is important are these numbers. TD means thermodynamics. Grand canonical potential or thermodynamic potential, which is denoted by omega, is equal to minus PV. What do you need for thermodynamic stability? It should be maximum, minimum, or what? Omega should be minimum. And that implies, because there is a negative sign over there. Okay, so now let's plot pressure as a function of those cases. Okay. So what kind of a curve will I get? What kind of a curve will I get? I will get straight line. So this is one straight line for pressure of PGP. The factor could be either 37 upon 90 or 19 upon 36. Depending on how many flavors you are using. I will get some straight line with some slope. Now what about pion? Where will that will also be straight line, where will it be? It will be much below this because the slope is very small, so it will be something like this. Of course, I am assuming mu to be 0. So what does this tell us? It tells us no matter what temperature is, which state is favored? We want P to be maximum. So no matter what temperature is, even at very low temperatures, QGP is the favored state. That is the conclusion we are getting from here, which is obviously wrong. We don't have QGP at low temperature. Something is missing in our understanding. Figure implies that QGP stable state it's obviously wrong doesn't need very sophisticated picture. I will present a very simple idea which is called bag model. Within the bag model, one can understand what is wrong in this picture. Is a phenomenological model of confinement of quarks in the nucleon. And it also provides qualitative understanding of deconfinement condition. Provides a non-perturbative treatment of QCD through some constant, through some parameters of this model. So the basic idea is the following. You imagine that there is some cavity let's take a spherical cavity of some radius r and put quarks inside. If you are talking about a baryon, then there are 3 quarks. If you are talking about a meson, then there is a big quark and an anti-quark. And now there are 2 regions, inside the bag and outside the bag. Inside the bag, the vacuum inside the bag is heated perturbatively. This is perturbative QCD vacuum. And outside, vacuum outside is our normal vacuum, physical, or normal, or true. Vacuum outside is usual physical vacuum, also called normal vacuum or true vacuum or non-perturbative QCD. Right. Here, this is a horribly complex vacuum which allows only colored singlet states. Outside you don't have, inside you have these color degrees of freedom, but outside color is not allowed, only color singlet states are allowed. So this is terribly complicated state only supporting excitations of color singlet nature. Now let's try to write an energy of such state. Okay, then one more thing, these quarks will be treated as non-interacting or perturbatively interacting. 3 massless, non-interacting, which means they can exchange gluons. That is allowed as per perturbative physics. So 3 massless, non-interacting or perturbatively interacting quarks confined to a spherical cavity, which is shown there. We also need a boundary condition so that the color doesn't leak out, or the current vector should vanish should not leak out of the surface. It's a boundary condition that normal component of the forward vector current zero at the boundary. So both the asymptotic freedom and confinement both are built into this.
Why are we imposing the boundary condition?
Because we don't want color to go out. Color is not allowed to exist outside. I said only color singlet states exist. So if one of the quark, the current cannot go out. The normal component of the current should be vanishing at the boundary. What I am presenting is the simplest version of the back model. There are many other more sophisticated versions, but we don't need that for our purpose. Okay, so now let's try to write the energy of that state. The quarks are moving inside, so they have kinetic energy. So we have to write a term corresponding to kinetic energy. Now use the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Tell me how the kinetic energy term will depend on the size of the bag. Somebody said inversely. Yeah, so that this term should go like 1 upon r. So I am going to write C. Let C is some constant. But this cannot be the whole story, because if you want to minimize energy, you will keep on increasing R, and then that will minimize the energy. But that doesn't happen. Nucleon has a finite fixed size. So this is not the whole story. You need something else.
Why is this not C by R square?
Dimensional. I'm taking C to be dimensionless. Then it has to be like R, like 1 upon length.
I think this is relative.
Oh, this is relativity.
This is relativity.
So you need something else, and that is what is called the vacuum energy. And that's proportional to the volume of the bag. Proportionality constant is taken to be B. So B is the vacuum energy per unit volume. So the first term is due to second term is because it costs some energy to create a bubble in the physical vacuum. You have to push the physical vacuum and create a hole, so that costs some energy. That energy is proportional to how big the hole is, so it's proportional to the volume. So it costs energy to create bubble or a bag where colored partons can exist. So now you see this term will favor large R, because that will minimize energy. This term will favor a small r, because that also will reduce the energy. So there is a competition between these two terms, which will stabilize the bag. So in other words, you can look at it this way. The vacuum outside is trying to squeeze the nucleon, but that's not happening.
Why is it not happening?
Nucleon doesn't collapse because of the more you collapse, the kinetic energy will increase, and so that will balance the pressure from outside. So when the inside pressure due to kinetic energy and outside pressure due to the physical vacuum, when they balance, then you have a stable nucleon. How do you find, what will you do next? Find the balance situation. How will you find the radius for which the nucleon is stable? Yeah, del del R, and equate it to 0. And once you find that radius will correspond to what energy?
That energy would be the
Mass of the nucleon. So if you do that, write del E plus del R 0, that it would imply radius is and this corresponds to E equals M. And we know the mass of the nucleon. So one can, we know the radius also. C can be determined. It's essentially a Dirac problem, right? When we have vacuum and we are solving Dirac equation, so that can be done. And one can also estimate the value of B. So the mass comes out to be 4 pi. value 4 pi dr cube plus dV. It comes out to be approximately 200 MeV. So that is the back constant. It is in that formula. It appears as a energy density of the vacuum.
So, how is it B is MeV to the power 4?
Dimensionally, let's look at this. M is like energy. You have this volume, which is L cube. So L cube here would be e raised to another e cube coming in. So one e was already there and e cube. So that. You can also show that this B is also a pressure. Not only its energy density, it's also pressure. We can calculate pressure as force per unit area. And of course, for the stable situation, the net pressure is, which was del E by del R was 0, so the net pressure was 0. But you can calculate pressure to the first term and the second term, and that the first term gives pressure due to first term will be B, and pressure due to the second term will be minus B. So they balance.
So this constant C, can I say that it will effectively be the same as the potential energy of that current string?
Same as potential energy. See the dimension.
The energy per unit length of that string,
String.
that current string that comes when I pull apart two quarks.
C will depend on how many quarks you have, first of all. In case of hadron, in case of baryon there are 3, in the case of quark antiquark there are 2, meson there are 2. And apart from that, it depends on details. We can exchange gluons between them, that will change the value. So actually these are not only 2 terms, there are more, you can have more terms based on the physics which is not included here. So the physics which is not included here is gluon exchange between quarks and other things. But did I answer your question?
The other things such as
The actual value of C will depend on details of it.
other things such as, I mean, gluon exchange is one thing, and what are the possibilities of that?
Okay, what other things are missing is there is something called 0-point energy, which is missing. Then these 3 quarks are moving. As a result, the center of mass will also move, but that is not allowed. It is an isolated nucleon. Center of mass should be fixed. You have to take care of that effect. So that's called center of mass energy, which has to be taken care of. So in other words, spurious motion of the center of mass has to be taken care of. Then there is something called Casimir energy of the quarks and gluons in the spherical cavity. That also is not there. Then there are effect of mesons around the nucleon. There's a cloud of mesons around the nucleon, which is also not there. So there are sophisticated versions which take into account all these effects. But for our purpose, this is enough, that there is some vacuum energy which we have not included in our pressure calculation. There is an analogy between superconductor and this. You know, superconductor doesn't allow magnetic field inside, and it is only outside. Similarly here, the color fields are allowed only inside and not outside. So it's what is inside of a superconductor is like outside of the bag, and vice versa. So this model has been successful in explaining semi-quantitatively some properties of the neutron, like low line states, magnetic moments of the baryons.
So the magnetic moment for protons can be qualitatively explained using these models.
Yes. So now let's redraw that diagram of pressure versus temperature using this information. This was our original figure. This was pressure for QGP, and this is the pressure for pion gas. Now, B is the pressure, so that has to be subtracted. This is coming with the vacuum pressure. So, as a result, now at different temperatures, different curves are above. Earlier this curve was always above the pion gas, but now look at here, this temperature. Below this temperature, which curve is higher? This is pion curve. Here. Below TC and above TC, you have this. So below TC, pion gas will be favored, and above TC, the QGP will be favored. So that makes sense. Yeah, one can calculate. Since we know the expressions for everything, we can estimate the TC here from here. I can do that. And you can take it yourself that TC, if you take two flavors, QGP with two flavors, then TC will come out to be
This is coming from this graph or from the model?
from this graph. You equate the pressure due to pion and pressure due to QGP. You get some expression for the temperature. So it will come out to be this 45 B 17 plus. And substitute the value of B, and it comes out to be about 144 MK. Not too bad, knowing that the lattice QCD gives crossover temperature about 155. So it's in the ballpark of that figure. If you take three flavors, it will be it's not too far from the correct value. One can also draw phase diagram of QCD. I showed in the first talk I showed you what it looks like, but yes.
Just to give one thing. So in this picture, therefore, when I include the other resonances, I'll never get a transition, right?
Does it like the delta with delta resonance?
The standard hadron resonance.
Yeah.
Yes. I include
So you need the gluon exchange interactions. One gluon exchange interaction will, okay. You want to know how to build up higher resonances within this model.
For the hadronic gas state, it's easy. I mean, I just include the other resonances. For the P pi will be modified to a curve that goes upwards.
What you want to include resonances in the hadron gas?
Right.
Yes, okay.
Right.
So what is
And then, of course, it will go up at 144 MeV without adding any back pressure. It more or less smoothly matches to PQGP.
you are saying this curve will go up?
Right.
Will it go up without back pressure? Will it be above this?
No, without back pressure around 144, 150 MeV, it's smoothly matches to PQGP.
I have not understood your question.
If I take all the other resonances in the hadron gas phase,
Yeah. Let's see here.
right, then so normally around 144 to 155 MeV range, it smoothly matches to the quadron plasma equation of state.
Without back pressure.
Right.
So you are saying it will go like this and then match.
Yeah. I mean, as you know, I mean, eventually it of course has to shoot up. So because of the agidon temperature, so it goes up pretty
In that
fast.
case, that will be the critical temperature, transition temperature.
Right. I am saying now if I get the QGP curve down by putting in this back pressure,
Without putting back pressure.
if I now take for your QGP curve the bottom line with the back pressure,
You want to have this curve and
So how far it can go? The degrees of freedom will go to 15. It's currently 3 for pions.
right.
It will go to 15. If
Well,
you take-
eventually it goes to
No, if you-
infinity
even if
pretty
you take
much.
all resonances up to 2 GeV, the degrees of freedom, of course, is temperature dependent, but it will go to order of 15. It won't go to 40.
So eventually it will go to anything. That's the whole concept of agidon temperature. It diverges.
So then the concept of hadrons break down. Right?
Exactly, right. Yeah. So the point is that it will always stay above. Anyway, maybe we can discuss this later.
the hadron curve will remain above the QGP curve.
I think so. Yeah. Have to plot it, but actually Vedant can
Yeah,
plot
yeah.
it easier than me.
So to draw the phase diagram, now you have to include these mu dependent terms, which we so far we have been ignoring. So let's look at that again. This mu dependent energy density.
Below DC and at the T4 axis. So in that region, QGP pressure is higher than the back constant.
No, no.
Below
This,
TC is lower.
this QGP pressure is lower than the pion pressure.
No, no. In the region.
Below TC, right?
Below TC and around and line which is cutting at the T4 axis.
Here,
Yes. In this region.
this region.
PQGP minus B is positive, right?
It's positive, but it is below 500.
So, so we have PGP pressure greater than back pressure. So,
Yeah.
we are still inside the back.
Yes.
So how can we go?
So it's approaching. Now this is not. I have not drawn to scale. This figure is not drawn to scale. First of all, I don't know how it will look if you draw it to scale. So this region may be very small. I don't know.
PQGP is in that region. PQGP is greater than back.
Yes.
Yes, so
It's-
there should
it's
be
approaching.
deconfinement. What you are trying to say?
Yes.
That PQGP minus B is still positive. So PQGP is greater than B. So there should be deconfinement.
So conditional pressure should be band is cutting around the
Yes,
3%.
yes.
Yes, 3%. Which point at
So you're saying this should be the transition temperature, not this.
For
Yes, maybe.
deconfinement.
Okay, this is the temperature at which. This is
PQGP is equal to back.
But okay, but if they are, these are very close, then you can approximate and estimate it this way. Otherwise, how will you determine that?
Why should it deconfine if PQGP is greater than B?
That is the criteria. See the inward pressure from outside. Then PQGP.
P pi is even greater.
People is it.
I think we should draw it a scale and see how it looks like. Right. So now let me write down the pressure. For NF equals 2. So this was the pressure due to QGP. So let us equate it to the back pressure. Now let's see, temperature is, suppose you are on this axis, and on this axis temperature is 0. So this term goes away, this goes away, and only this term remains. So by equating this with this, you can determine what is mu. So there will be some point here in which these two are equal, at t equal to 0. On the other hand, when mu is 0, it is on this axis, this drops out, only this term will remain, and you can determine the temperature for which the first term is equal to B, and that will be something here. And in between, for non-zero T as well as mu, it's easy to check that as you keep on decreasing T, you have to increase mu to satisfy this equality. So as you go down here, mu has to be larger and larger, and you will get something like this. There are two regions. In one region, the equality is not, on this line, the equality is satisfied. Below this, QGP pressure is less. This is the region of advanced gas, the region of heat. This is the region in which T and mu are large. So the left hand side is large. The QGP pressure is larger than the back pressure. And the bag is broken.
I'm confused. Now are you using the criterion that he was saying, that the QGP pressure equals back pressure?
No, I'm equating the two pressures, which I'm using the same idea here.
Earlier your criteria for QGP was that the pressure QGP minus B should be greater than P pi. Now your criteria is PQGP is greater than B.
Now, on this line, they are equal, right?
On that line, PQGP is B,
Huh.
not greater than P pi.
Not greater than. pi, I'm not talking about P pi here, right? This is pressure only, pion, I'm not talking about pion, I'm talking only about quarks and gluons.
So in this case, you are calculating transition temperature with the help of with by equating.
Okay, only.
But in the graph, criteria was when pressure of ion is greater than or lesser than PQGP minus P.
Yeah.
Equal PQGP minus B equal to P pi.
Right.
At that.
Okay, so now I'm saying when they're equal, I'm getting this line. So in that picture, this would be the transition.
Yeah.
All right. So we have, this is a rough or approximate description of this transition that for sufficiently large T or mu, you can go from this state to that. So back within this bag model, this is the phase diagram that one gave. This is the QCD phase diagram. Within the bag model.
Sir,
Yeah.
if this is TC, what we were trying to do till now is we were considering the possible phases at each temperature and trying to see which one has the most maximum pressure. Here already at that, the new TC you have drawn, hadron gas has more pressure. Then why is that phase not achieved?
Which phase hadron gas has more?
P pi, sorry.
On the
Pion gas, sorry. P pi.
Yeah.
P pi has more pressure, right? At that TC that you have drawn now.
What is, I don't understand. What is it?
We were trying to see which one has the greatest pressure and we would have said that phase exists,
Right.
isn't it?
Diagrammatically, the
P pi has more pressure.
P pi
In this diagram, P pi has less pressure.
No,
at
at that
and TC is still dominating. P is still dominating.
Okay. Yeah.
Even after TC for a few.
So in that diagram, TC should be where PQGP minus B is P pi.
Yeah, like your earlier TC was right, I think.
Now
No, but the point is
I think one should draw it a scale and see how far these 2 points are from each other.
No, I don't trust this.
Rajan, I think
This curve is actually is very, slope is very small.
no, I think my
So
guess
maybe
is
it
that
is
those 2 points are very close, and
Yeah.
in this approximate description, it doesn't really matter because, see, if you in the right hand side put in the pion gas, the only difference would be that 37 will become 34, right? So that will not make much of a difference to that curve.
Like physically, I think, I mean, that made more sense, the earlier TC.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
So this line has a very small slope. I am exaggerating here. If the slope is very small, then these 2 points will be very close to each other. So I will stop here, and next time I will start with the description of the